Thank you for coming back to the program. You're watching ASEAN Business Report. Now, the Philippines is set to boost local vehicle manufacturing and grow supply chain as the country undergoes the rapid modernization fueled by a growing economy. The Executive Director of Philippine Automotive Competitiveness Council Incorporation said vehicle sales could reach 500,000 units by 2022 from 180,000 units in 2012. To make this possible, the Board of Investments, an agency attached to the Department of Trade and Industry, is crafting the National Automotive Manufacturing Industry Strategy, or NAMIS, to be launched in the next 3 months. The non-fiscal support policy will allow local car manufacturers to take their idle plant lines to full capacity, assembling 200,000 units in the next 2 years. The current utilization rate is 36% of the full capacity. Michinobu Sugata, Toyota Motor Philippines Corporation President and CEO and President of the Philippines Automotive Board of Trustees, said with a vehicle density of only 33 units per 1,000 persons, the Philippines has a far more exciting growth potential than the more mature markets of Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Also, Mitsubishi Motors Philippines Corporation earlier reported plans of hiking production to 50,000 units in the next 2 years and on to 100,000 by 2017, given government support. And Kun Jerry, taking a look back to Thailand, the auto industry is slowing, but domestic demand is not stalling, Kun Jerry. And according to a report by JP Morgan, Thailand's auto sales have also soared from the government's first car buyer policy, where buyers get tax rebates. But JP Morgan said that it expects the demand to slow at the end of the rebate scheme, potentially dragging down GDP growth.
Well, from there, we're going to move on to the second largest economy, which is China. This was a trip taken before the BRICS summit, as Chinese leader Xi Jinping warned against foreign meddling in the affairs of other nations during a speech in Moscow, sending a signal to the West and echoing a message often repeated by the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Xi addressed students at Russia's Premier's International Relations School a day after meeting Putin in his first trip abroad since assuming the presidency, a choice both said underscored a strategic partnership between Russia and China. The Chinese leader encouraged both countries to respect the right of each country in the world to independently choose its path of development and oppose interference in the internal affairs of other countries. Permanent UN Secretary Council members with veto power, Russia and China have frequently teamed up diplomatically to blunt the influence of the United States and its NATO allies. Xi has emphasized their shared goals during the state visit, a reliable guarantee of an international strategic balance and peace. And apart from this, both China and Russia will focus on boosting tourism to play a significant role in promoting and strengthening economic relations and communications between the two countries. As China has maintained a good growing momentum amid the global financial crisis, many Chinese enterprises have developed great interest in Russia through their deepening understanding of the country. And with our series still continuing with DPS's forecast in Asian economies, tonight is about China, where it may risk facing overheating. Despite some distractions in China last year, with the maritime territorial dispute row and sluggish GDP growth at 7.8%, the world's second largest economy, however, will be the main driver of Asia's growth in 2013, according to DBS research. Driven mostly from government investment, China's economic force is set to turn around as the new leadership has taken over. With the reduced order from the financially hit Western continent, China's government has taken new courses to accelerate growth under the urbanization campaign, which could see GDP at no less than 8.5% in the first quarter of 2013. The urbanization plan will be the key driver of growth, giving the government scope to spur domestic demand and infrastructure investment, which has seen the fixed asset index grow to 21.2% in the first 2 months of this year, while domestic consumption boost is slated for the longer-term strategy. However, in the near-term growth outlook, China's economic structure facilitates forthcoming risk of overheating. That is, the insufficient supply allocation because of excess spending by the people as consumer wealth increases. Currently, private consumption is now only at around 35% of GDP, which is less than the levels prior to the global financial crisis, and is thought to be a medium-term reliance for investment to propel growth. In this regard, part of the plan is to spend 40 trillion yuan, or $6.4 trillion, to bring 400 million people to cities over the next decade. Furthermore, China may also face the risk of escalating inflation as economic forces are back in place. The ever-growing demand for property accelerated the surge of property prices, which in turn contributed to elevated inflation expectations. A holistic approach in forming the monetary policy is suggested in the long run to benefit the economy, such as the raising of interest rates, monitoring capital inflows, wages pressures, and asset prices on top of the consumer price index. External trade is also improving steadily, contributing to a larger trade surplus, bringing an upward pressure on both the currency and interest rates over the medium term.
And we will be back with CEO talk on expanding corporate investment in Myanmar right after a short break.